So once we've had those conversations and the client's clear about the the size that an implementation might be, an ERP implementation might be, and the expectations on them, and they've decided to go ahead. How do you get started? So the way I would approach an implementation like this is by sitting down with the different departments within the client's business and mapping out their processes. If you've got a great client who's very organized, maybe they've got ISO 9001 or something like that, and they've got everything mapped out, that's a fantastic starting point. So I would absolutely be looking at the existing processes in those cases. But if they're changing system, that obviously is going to impact the processes. The high-level process might remain similar. It might completely change. You don't know. It's all dependent on the project. Certainly, the detail is going to change. The actual procedure and the things people need to do to carry out those processes can change. So the first step is understanding the existing processes and mapping those out, because that will be really helpful for you as the project goes on and once we start to get to listing the requirements. So while we're having these conversations with the different departments in the business, we'll be also looking for what's working and what's not working. And it's really important to not forget to note what is working, because you don't want the client to be feeling like, okay, we're implementing this system, but we're throwing out, with all the things that are not working, we're throwing out the things that are working. So you really need to make sure that you document what the client is pleased with, what's going well in their business, as well as the issues that they're trying to address. And then once we know what those issues are and what the existing processes are, we can map out the to-be processes. Now, as I mentioned, the detail of those, the actual procedures and the specific things that people need to do to achieve that overall process, that will come later. But as long as you understand at a high level what does the process need to turn into, then we can map that out, and that becomes part of the next stage of listing out your requirements. Because now we have a very clear understanding of what the existing process is, what are the problems in those processes, what are the things that are working really well that we want to make sure we maintain, and how do we want to be working once this new system is in place. And from that, we can list out the requirements in quite a bit of detail to make sure that when we go looking for an application to meet the client's needs, we're looking for the right things. If you're not looking for the right things, you can fall into the trap of a salesperson comes along, they do a flashy presentation, it all looks wonderful, and you think, excellent, that seems to meet my client's needs, let's go for it. You get into the implementation, you start getting into this kind of detail, and all of a sudden you realize, oh, actually, it can't do that very key thing. So we'll make out a list of requirements, and then we know in a lot of detail exactly the things that we're looking for when we're evaluating an application.